We're going to meet somebody who, any of you who joined us down on Pups on the Piazza in the summer, you will have met him. He is the wonderful Scott Cupit. He is the founder of Swing Patrol. He's often here with the Jive Aces. He also works and assists on Strictly Come Dancing. And he's brought out a book on swing dance. It's the whole history of this wonderful way of dancing. And we're going to be asking you, when was the last time you actually went dancing? I just want to bring in Scott, very quickly, Scott, before we introduce you properly. Just tell us the significance of this music.
Well, I love, Jo, that you're playing that tune because that's Shiny Stockings and considered to be Frankie Manning's favourite tune. So Frankie was the father of Lindy Hop. He's like the guy that sort of was the great ambassador in the early days. And so, yeah, I loved it that I walk into the BBC and his tune's being played.
Oh, this is just wonderful. And I'm reading ahead of you here, because Frankie Manning had lots of dances created in the late 20s in Harlem. Is that where he started off?
He didn't actually create the dances, but he was the superstar, the young hotshot. And of course, he was the one who was alive only until a few years ago, so we all got to learn from him. He ended up, when swing dancing disappeared, he went and worked in the New York post office for years, and some dancers found him. And the story goes that they called him and said, "Are you the Frankie Manning?" And he said, "Oh, I'm a Frankie Manning." And he was so humble. But, I got to work with him and so forth, and a lot of us did. And so that's why. So he wasn't the original dancer, but he was one of the great early hotshots.
And how wonderful that you all sort of rediscovered him.
Well, it was so great, and that's why I got to write about him in my book, because it was personal, and he was such a charming, generous, humble man. So he not only was a great dancer, he was a great human being.
Now, Scott, I have to say, you are, I honestly mean this, the cleanest person I have ever had in this studio. You come in, it's like you have been polished. You're so crisp, you smell cologned, Your hair is slicked back. But this is all part of the scene, isn't it?
Oh, thanks, Jo. Well, I didn't look that slick that day in the Piazza. That was a lot of fun. But after half an hour of dancing, I was quite scruffy.
That was fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, the fashion is very much part of it. And obviously, I own a lot of vintage suits, and I love the ties, and I love the look. And so, yeah, it's very much part of the package. And
would you, even if you weren't working, like if you weren't doing interviews, do you wear, because I know the Jive Aces do, I don't see them in any other, I've never seen them in a pair of jeans or anything.
They love their zoot suits, don't they?
They do, they really do. Is this your way of life?
Pretty much. Perhaps not in the mornings. But yeah, in the evenings when I go dancing and so forth, I'm 99% of the time in vintage, yes.
Let's talk about your book. It is, it's such a good read.
Oh,
so it's all about the fashion, the music, the culture, and the key moves. So all the people who love listening to music, anyway, dance music, the whole origin of it is explained in here, where it came from, what the fashions meant, why they evolved. And it's just an insight, really, into the contemporary swing dance scene, how it all came back, which it did in vengeance. But your story's interesting because you're from Australia.
I am an Aussie.
And just reading between the lines, because you write about your life, actually, and Lindy Hop, and the fact there wasn't really any, was there, over there?
Well, not when I started. No, not in 1998. I saw the dance and I fell in love with it. And I was
Where did you see it then? In Oz?
I saw it at Disneyland.
Right.
No, I was travelling as a backpacker, and these dancers were doing this art form to the music I loved, because I played the instrument in my church band and so forth. So, I played the saxophone, and suddenly I was just so fascinated by this dance that fitted the music I loved. So I asked them what it was, and they said it was the Lindy Hop. Now, back in 1998, there was about 6 people that even knew what that word was in Melbourne. And obviously, we started Swing Patrol, and I wanted to share this dance, not for any other reason except I wanted more people to dance with. I still had a banking job and so forth. But suddenly, we did it in a way that attracted other people, and suddenly we had 300-400 people learning off us. And back then, I was the assistant. I was just the junior. I turned the music on and off, and I didn't do much as a teacher. But yeah, we had so much momentum at Swing Patrol. It was crazy. And so I left my banking career. That was an awkward conversation with my father the day I told him I was starting a swing dancing school. And so it just grew from there. And it hasn't stopped growing since. And then I moved to London 6 years ago. And of course, all this momentum and being on Dragon's Den and getting funding. And
yeah, tell me about that, because the Dragons really took to you, didn't they?
Yeah, and that's how the book came about, because people saw me on the show. Deborah Meaden invested in Swing Patrol, and that was amazing. And she's been absolutely incredible.
Does she Lindy Hop herself?
She does a little jive, which we can adapt, and we'll call it Lindy Hop. But she's a lovely dancer, because she spent all that time on Strictly, of course. So yeah, we've had a few dances. Yes. They made us dance on the BBC breakfast show one morning, so that was our first dance.
And now how many classes are there around London? I mean, any given moment there's a class going on, isn't there?
I would never take it for granted, because the first year we had no students and I was standing out tube stops, literally handing out flyers. But now we have about 37 venues around London, and we have, almost 50 teachers, and we teach all over the place. And, the team are an incredible team. They're so talented, the teachers, and they love their dance. It's a great community. We recently broke a world record for the most people doing the Charleston. We had 977 people down at Spitalfields Market. So yeah, it's a huge community now, and I'm really proud to be part of that.
Well done. I mean, and as you say, Swing Patrol has become massive, and it's all down to you basically, and Dragon's Den for having faith in you. And
and helps, of course I'm surrounded by some very talented people too, which goes from graphic designers to DJs to teachers to just great dancers. So yeah, I'm lucky.
So are you saying then it came from America?
It's an American vernacular jazz dance. It came from New York. So, Frankie Manning and all those guys, it came from the sort of the heart of Harlem. And that back in the day, there was this great ballroom where it didn't matter what the color of your skin was. It was one of those rare places in Harlem where white people would go up there because they loved the music and the dance. And and of course it spread around the world during World War II in many ways, because the American servicemen on their R&R, they would come to London and Sydney and so forth, and they would show people this dance that had come from America.
And the Charleston you mentioned there, that plays, I mean, in the book, because you go back, all the styles of dance that have contributed to it, and the Charleston is... obviously, this is all I know, is it came out of the 20s when everyone suddenly sort of took their hemlines up, took their bras off and just went for it. It was a rebellious dance.
And it's amazing how that's why it's on Strictly all the time. People identify, everyone knows exactly what the Charleston is. They know what to wear to a Charleston party. They know the era and they know the music. And so, it's amazing how it survived the ages. And it didn't actually exist for that many years. It came and went quite quickly in the 20s, but it survived, and good for the Charleston.
And what I saw as well is on Strictly, and I've seen it a couple of times. Who's the wonderful singer Josephine
Baker?
That's right. So now she had, which you use in Lindy Hop quite a lot, her flexed feet
That's right.
doing lifts and everything, which was unheard of. Where they kick with bent legs and flexed feet. Is that a Josephine Baker move?
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, you might have seen Jamelia's routine a few weeks ago.
Jamelia did
I thought like that because I work alongside Jenny Thomas. She's the senior choreographer, and of course Jenny is so great at the Charleston, so she put the Josephine Baker moves in there because she thought it suited Jamelia, and it was great that you got that, and it was amazing. And that was the only time Jamelia got 4/8. That was really her dance, and she had so much fun doing it. But the Charleston is unique for that, and Josephine Baker, of course, had such a unique movement.
Well, I watched a very good friend of mine, actually, Cush Jumbo, played Josephine Baker in a one-woman show, and that's the only time
I saw that. Wasn't that incredible?
Well, she's a friend of mine. She's an amazing girl.
That was so great.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'll tell her you saw it.
Yeah.
And that was when I saw that, I just laughed. I thought, that's an extraordinary way of dancing, and it really was her stamp on the Charleston, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Josephine Baker changed everything, and it was raw, and, it offended the establishment, and she took sort of the Charleston to a new level. And, of course, a lot of people emulate her today because it was so unique.
And so Lindy then, and swing dance, what I love about it, and I think this is the appeal as much as the whole thing that goes with it, the fashion and everything, is you don't have to have a partner, do you?
No, most people that come to our classes don't have a partner. We rotate every 2 or 3 minutes, and we always say, thank your partner and change partners. Every now and then a couple will come in and don't want to rotate. We will encourage them so much not to stay together because we think it's all part of being part of a community. And so, most people come in their own and they're nervous. The first thing at a Swing Patrol class you'll hear the teachers do is say, look, you're not going to dance with everybody, so everybody introduce yourself to 2 people you don't know. So, we want to break the ice early on because, a lot of people come on their own and they're either they don't want to be world champions, they want to, London can be a tough city.
Yes.
People want to belong.
Yes.
A lot of people are like me. They weren't born in London. They're now Londoners, but they're from, somewhere else. So, I think we've tapped into that and helping.
The whole fashion as well is and you talk about this. To explain what keps are. I'd never heard of keps before.
Oh, you mean Keds?
Keds. Is it Keds?
Yeah. That's just
shoes.
It's a style of shoe, and interesting. It's a brand of shoe, but just that back in the day, they walk hand in hand with us historically, because the early dancers, there's photos of them in Keds shoes. So Keds really proudly still have an association with Swing Patrol and a lot of some other schools around the world, swing dance schools. And so, there's all sorts of things and interesting little stories with the history of Lindy Hop.
And there are explicit, I love these actually, how to do a follows turn. See, I can't
Oh, you
turn
like that?
well.
Yeah, well, those models are all our teachers or troop members. So the ones you're looking at there is Simon. He's our Crouch End teacher. And so they're real people, and they're the models in our How to Dance sort of section of the book. And a lot of people have really enjoyed those, and obviously beginners have enjoyed them. And, not everyone's from London. Some people live in cities where there is no teachers. Outback Australia, they've been buying the book because they've got no
to teach
access.
Themselves.
Well, it's a great companion. Eventually, they're going to have to get some proper learning, but it's a good place to start to learn some basic footwork.
The collegiate look, and this is the preppy look as we know.
Yes.
And this really lends itself. So you've got the flat shoes, the girls
That's
are in
right.
the pleated skirts,
Yes.
often with a cardigan or a twin set or something like that,
Yes.
and the men in sort of what we would call here Oxford bags.
Exactly.
That was so much look, and people would wear that even once they'd left college, wouldn't they?
Absolutely, and that collegiate look is so cool. You see it, especially across America. You see it everywhere, and you see a little bit here down at Broadway Market and in the cool East London areas. The hipsters wear that sort of look, and of course, it's a dance in itself, collegiate shag, and it's had a little bit of a resurgence globally as well, including in London.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
And do you ever now see? Oh, look at this! That
I'm
has
glad
to
you
be-
like it.
Is that from Harlem?
Isn't that
Some of these-
incredible? That's Frankie Manning, who we were talking about
That's
before.
him,
and
that's him.
And that's Norma Miller, yeah. So we had Norma Miller, that lady. She's the only surviving member of that original troupe of Whitey's Lindy Hoppers, and we had her here in February. She's
You're
95.
kidding. No.
She was on BBC Breakfast. It was so fantastic, but she's now the only surviving member, and she's the queen of swing.
Norma Miller.
She's incredibly opinionated. She's very funny, tells a great story.
It says here she featured in the Hell's a Poppin' clip.
That's right.
Described him as a bum with great vision. That she
Well, that's some funny anecdotes, because she would tell the truth about these early dancers, because they're all our idols, of course. And she'd be just like, oh, he was a ladies' man. We all avoided him. But, he could choreograph well. And she would tell us the funniest things. She would just... And what we laugh about Norma is no one can question her, because she's the only one around now. So it's sort of history according to Norma.
And if you look at these, oh my goodness, I hadn't got this far in the book. So there is, at the end, there's a whole chapter to the wonderful Frankie Manning, as you say. And some of those holds, now this is interesting because, as I say, you work on Strictly. Some of those holds, I hold my breath because the professional girls are often having to be thrown in the air by non-professional boys. I mean, what is, for holds then, what is the clue to be bold and have confidence? What is it to hold your breath, to give a good...
My role as the assistant choreographer is make sure that I spot well and show them how to, when they do it, that there's obviously a safety net, and my hands are often the safety net. So show them how to do it, and Jenny, the senior choreographer, will go through how to get in and out, and I'll ensure that they're completely safe when they try it. Then I have to take off one hand, and it's only a one-hand spot, we call it, and then I'm just standing close by, and eventually we have to wean the spotting off them. But yeah, if they're taught well and they're executed well, they should be safe, as long as the timing goes well.
Can I ask you, who in a really good lift into a backflip, which is a real Lindy move,
Absolutely.
and there are demonstrations,
Look at you.
who is doing all the work, the man or the girl?
Definitely the lead, the man, assuming traditional roles, because he has to lower himself and put his hips below hers and make sure he puts him over there. So it's definitely, but that's not every
And yet the girl
aerial.
gets all the glory.
It's funny you say that, because I'm known as, I specialise in teaching a lot of aerials, but I'm never the one noticed, because it's always the person flying through the air.
And yet when you're not doing it right, they could literally get injured or anything, couldn't they?
Oh, look, there's every now and then an injury does happen, because there is an element of risk, and that's what makes it exciting. But Frankie Manning's known as the originator of the air steps. He'd tell great stories about how he was trying to work out the first aerial with a mattress and a girl in his bedroom, and his mother came home and trying to figure out, and his mother was like, what on earth are you doing, Frankie? And of course she didn't believe him, but he was trying
just dancing.
He was trying to explain that he was trying to invent this aerial with this mattress and a female in his room. It was a very funny story.
You, as you say, there are Swing Patrol classes all over London, all over the world, basically. But there are people who, and you see this in Strictly, who have never danced before, who just have a talent for it. You can see it, okay, they have to be taught the technique, but they just have a talent. Is that musicality? Is it dance? What is it?
Well, it's a little bit of rhythm. And we always say, you don't know till you walk into a dance class what rhythm God gave you. It's really interesting. Some people can't hear the music, and other people, it's an acquired learning. I totally believe everybody can learn to dance, but you're absolutely right. Sometimes we'll be in a beginner class and you'll see someone and you'll be like, this is so natural for you. And they'll be like, yeah, what's next? And you're amazed. So when you see those people, it's really exciting, of course, because you think there's someone who's going to really swing out hard later on in life.
And we were talking, Robert Elms in the show before mine, and he was asking, did I dance? And I said, well, I trained as a ballet dancer, which means I find it quite difficult. I'm old now, but I used to find it difficult to let myself go. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Because it's such a regimented form of discipline.
Having
dance.
said that, some great Lindy Hoppers have your background and, contemporary jazz background, because you know how to balance your body, you know how to spin, you know how to turn. So there's some incredible skills that you have that we love absorbing into the Lindy Hop world, because you already have that great dance training. But yeah, partner dancing is a different skill.
I'm going to play this because also the book lists some of the great tracks to play. Tell us who this is.
I can't remember this one. This is one of the Shag ones, isn't it?
Bobby Summers?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I love
this.
that one. I'm glad you like it.
What would you do to this?
Well, I specialise in Balboa, and I have taught collegiate shag. But if you've read in the book, the collegiate shag songs. I got a collegiate shag couple from Gloucester to choose, because I felt, you know what, I teach all the dance styles but collegiate shag, and it only made sense to ask them just to mix it up a little bit too. So that's why I didn't know the tune. That's chosen by Jim and Nikki from Gloucester, who are incredible collegiate shag dancers.
It's wonderful. So there is a whole chapter in the book called Lindy Hop Tunes. We've only just played a couple. Lester Young, Lionel Hampton, Duke Ellington, Chick Webb, Benny Goodman, Tommy Dorsey, Ray Anthony, Gordon Webster, the Jive Aces. Now, it was the Jive Aces that really did introduce us to you.
That's right. I met you when the Jive Aces had a feature here, didn't they, on the show?
They, seriously, since I've worked for the BBC in all different towns, they've come with me. Well, they are amazing.
Well, we did this great thing. We tried to put in a bid to put 1,000 swing dancers at the opening of the Olympics, and we did that in conjunction with the Jive Aces, and we submitted this huge sort of thing that Swing Patrol could do that with a live band. So that's how we got to know the Jive Aces, and then I'm featured in a couple of their music
videos.
Clips. Yeah, people often approach me, I don't know, somehow they recognise me. I was the very badly acting waiter.
And I'm in one of them as well. Bringing Me Sunshine. We played their single.
So am I. That's the one I'm
we're
on.
both in it.
Oh,
You've got to go and have a look at that video. I think it's had millions of hits.
Yeah,
hasn't it?
4 million or something.
Because
I'm amazed.
they're all over the world.
Yeah.
And their album is out, and we also played their single, actually. But can I just say thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thanks, Jo. Thanks for having me again. I love it.
Book. So where can people get hold of a copy?
Well, you can get it on the Swing Patrol website, or you can get it, it's amazing, it's at Foyles and Waterstones or on Amazon.com. So, yeah, it's pretty accessible at the moment, which is amazing.
And you're leaving a lovely fragrance in here. It's wonderful, actually. Who do you think's going to win Strictly? You're not allowed to say, are you?
No, but I think all the Swing Patrol dancers want Peter Andre to win, it seems.
We love him. He's a friend of the show.
Oh, there you go.
And there you go. Whoever thought he could do what because he's doing he's doing waltzes and things like that.
Oh, yeah, he looks completely comfortable.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott, for coming in.
Thanks, Jo.